Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a building material that you've probably never heard of, but honestly, it's poised to completely reshape our city skylines. We're talking about a high-tech version of wood that's taking on the giants of construction, concrete and steel.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It's a challenging idea, right? We see skyscrapers and we think of metal, we think of stone, but a whole new wave of construction is asking us to look again at one of the world's oldest building materials, just completely reimagined for the modern age.
Okay, so let's get into it. For more than a century, the story of big construction has really been the story of just two materials. But that duopoly is now facing a very, very serious contender.
Now, this is not your standard 2x4. We're talking about something called cross-laminated timber, or CLT for short. It's an engineered wood product that is so strong, so versatile, that it's being used to build everything from single-family homes to towering office blocks. This isn't just a trend, you know. It's a real structural shift.
So what gives this stuff its incredible strength? I mean, how does wood compete with steel? To really get a handle on its power, we have to look at how it's made, which happens inside a factory, long before it ever gets to a building site. The nickname super-plywood is actually a pretty great place to start. But the real magic, the secret, is in how these layers of lumber are bonded together. It's all about the arrangement. The whole process is incredibly precise. First, the wood is kiln-dried so it won't warp. Then comes the genius part. Each layer, they call it a lamella, is stacked at a 90-degree angle to the one below it. This cross-lamination, that's the secret sauce. It creates unbelievable strength in every direction, which is something standard lumber just can't do. You add some non-toxic adhesive, a whole lot of pressure, and boom, you have one solid, super strong panel.
And this is where it gets really high-tech. Before these panels even leave the factory, computer-controlled machines cut out every single opening, for doors, for windows, with perfect accuracy. The panels arrive on site like a giant, perfectly engineered kit of parts, all ready to be put together.
So, let's move on to the why. Why are builders making this switch? We're going to look at how CLT builds such a compelling case against concrete and steel. And yeah, the advantages start with sustainability, but believe me, they do not end there. Okay, this right here is where the argument becomes almost undeniable. Just look at the energy it takes to create these materials. To produce CLT, it takes about half the energy of concrete, and get this, just 1% of the energy needed for steel. From a carbon footprint perspective, that's an absolute game changer. And the benefits are just as obvious once you get to the construction site. Because everything is prefabricated, assembly is incredibly fast, which can seriously cut down on labor costs. The material's lighter weight can also mean cheaper foundations. And, for anyone who's lived near a construction site, the fact that it's a cleaner, quieter process is a huge, huge plus in a dense city. And think about the logistics. These custom-made panels can be delivered to the site exactly when they're needed. So you don't need these huge storage areas, which is a major bonus on tight city lots. And it just keeps the whole project moving along at a really fast pace. Okay, but there's a big, obvious question that comes to mind when you picture a wooden skyscraper. It's the concern that pretty much everyone has when they first hear about this stuff. Right, it's the elephant in the room, and it's a completely valid question. So, let's look at the science behind how these massive timber panels actually perform in a fire. Because the reality is, well, it's pretty surprising.
So here's the totally counterintuitive science. Massive timber doesn't just burst into flames like a twig. When it's exposed to a really intense fire, the outer surface of a CLT panel chars at a slow, predictable rate. And that char layer becomes a natural insulator, protecting the structural wood in the middle from heat and oxygen. It literally protects itself.
In fact, unlike protected steel, which can buckle and fail really suddenly at high temperatures, these CLT panels can be engineered to have a fire resistance of up to 2 hours. This allows them to meet incredibly strict fire codes and make sure the building stays stable enough for people to get out. So, with that major safety question out of the way, you can start to see why this material is being embraced for more and more ambitious projects. Let's take a look at how CLT is already changing our world.
What started as a niche idea back in 2009 with the first timber skyscraper, a 9-story apartment block in London, has just absolutely exploded in the last 5 years. I mean, now, towers over 30 meters tall, that's about 10 stories, are becoming common sights in cities all across the globe. The pace of adoption has been incredible. And the real takeaway here is that architects and engineers feel like they're just getting started. They're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible with wood, designing taller and more complex buildings as their confidence in the material just keeps growing.
And that kind of leaves us with this final thought. As we search for smarter, faster, more sustainable ways to build the cities of tomorrow, maybe we'll find the answer not in some futuristic new material, but in an ancient one, just brilliantly re-engineered for the 21st century.